Hello, everybody. How's everybody going today? This is the Healing Show with Keryn Lee, and I'm very excited that the show is up and running again, and you guys are here with me today. So just a couple of logistics to get us started. If you would like to comment or have questions or anything like that, please feel free to put them in the comments section. You need to be in the My Time TV Facebook group to comment. If you're in one of the other groups, I won't be able to see your comments. Hi, Annette. Thanks for being here, darling. Lovely to see you. Also, if you would like to invite your friends, that would be amazing. If there's anyone that you feel might be interested in coming on and having a listen to the show. We're going to be talking about belief systems today and how our belief systems impact our reality. And the really cool thing about this is we have such a phenomenal amount of research and scientific evidence being, or actually, let me not say evidence, let me say studies being done now that are really giving us so much more information about belief systems. And really, a lot of us that have been part of the metaphysical community for a long time have been working with these concepts for a long time, the fact that thought creates reality. Now, at this point in our lives, in humanity, we are seeing a real transition from what we've known as modern medicine to what is now becoming more about energy healing, energy medicine, alternative therapies, energy work, thought, how that creates our reality, instead of what was previously believed that, it's in your genes and this is the way your life is going to be. If your father had a heart attack, you're highly likely to have a heart attack as well. It's just part of your genes. So this type of thinking is being turned around by people like Dr. Bruce Lipton and many others who, and I know Dr. Bruce Lipton was actually a stem cell biologist, and he had an interest in quantum physics, and he started to look more closely at what was actually happening with the cells. And I want to actually read this because I would never remember scientific stuff, so I've actually have to type it out and read it to you, but it was really, really interesting. Science previously believed that life is controlled by the genes, but Bruce Lipton produced breakthrough studies on the cell membrane, which revealed that this outer layer of the cell was an organic homologue of a computer chip. So in other words, the cell's equivalent of a brain. His research revealed that the environment operating through the membrane controlled the behavior and physiology of the cell, thus turning the genes on and off. This is absolutely phenomenal because now we have so much more awareness and information. We don't just have to rely on, well, your father had diabetes, so you're pretty much going to get it. Life sucks to be you. Now we have the power in our hands to actually say, well, I can create my reality. And if something isn't showing up the way that I'd like it to, I have the ability to change it. And the beauty of that is that science is actually now confirming that and giving us a lot more evidence. Hello, lovely. Thank you for being here. And thank you for inviting. I appreciate that. That's fantastic. I'm popping a link into the comments here. Hopefully that comes up in the comments. I'm a little bit new to this format, so it's a little bit trial and error as we go. And I'm hoping that if anyone would like to come on and ask questions, you can actually use that link and we can get you on the show and have a chat. All right, so every thought or emotion causes a specific reaction in the brain. And of course, they've tested this when someone has joy, sadness, whatever emotion, specific areas of the brain light up. And the brain recognizes, if the brain recognizes something similar from a past experience, it will tend to react in the same way. The brain is like a really amazing storage system, and it will throw up information related to past experiences. It doesn't really like to do anything different. It's not really expansive in its thinking. That's the more intuitive side of our brain. So let's say that you have a traumatic experience as a child and before the age of 7. Let's say your parents argued all the time and there was some violence in the house or something like that. Then you go into a relationship and years later, you're having an argument with a spouse or something like that. And those old feelings of being a child in that dysfunctional environment, that energy gets stirred up, it gets triggered. And then you start reacting in that situation with your spouse in the same way that you might have as a child. It triggers what's the word? It triggers a reaction, let's say. Whereas if you were in your more, if you didn't have that energy, you would be able to react to the situation or choose how you react to the situation from a more balanced and congruent perspective. There wouldn't be a charge associated with the argument or whatever you're having. But because we go back to these past events, people are reacting to this all the time. You see it in shopping centres and stuff like that as you're walking through. There's such a great place to study people. Parents yelling at their children. I've seen some amazing things with, grown people acting like 3-year-olds as they try to, control their children. And, one particular lady that I'm thinking of, she had I'd say probably 12 or 13-year-old girl with her. And this girl was trying to eat her lunch. And this woman was abusing her. Why do I always have to effing wait for you? And really was quite horrible to her. And the girl just wanted to eat her lunch. And I was thinking about how many issues around eating there was going to be for this girl as she got older, how many issues around her self-worth. And, all manner of other things, as this woman behaved like a child. But the essence of that is it wasn't really her. It wasn't really the true being that she is. It was old energies coming up from childhood where her needs weren't met, where perhaps she was treated badly. And so she was reacting to that particular situation. So yeah, we see that all across the board. The beautiful thing is that we can actually change those energies. We can do something about it. We don't just have to accept that. So Bruce Lipton gives us 4 ways to change this programming, these belief systems. And I wanted to share his perspective on this today because he is a scientist. He's doing a lot of research in this area, and I think that he has some good information that we can really make use of here. Now, the first one is hypnosis. So we've all heard of hypnosis. We've seen it used in some rather unusual ways as sort of stage theatrics, but it's also, of course, a very serious and very useful form of healing, a healing modality of sorts. Also, the other thing with this hypnotic kind of state is up until 7 years of age, our brain, our mind is kind of operating in this hypnotic state, in what is actually called the theta brainwave state. It's like a very low vibrating frequency that allows us to go into this kind of meditative state. But as children, we're kind of in that state already because we haven't been encumbered by all of the heaviness, all of the thoughts, beliefs, opinions, and everything else of the people around us. After, when we're past 7, then we start to take on more and more and more, and we come out of this theta state. But up until 7, we're very much connected to that theta state. And this is why children learn so quickly. Like, they can learn a new language. They can live in a double language household and learn both languages with total ease. They literally absorb all the information and everything that's going on around them. So this is fantastic in terms of learning language, the development that goes on with a child in terms of watching what's going on with the adults around them, learning to walk and talk and run and jump and climb on things and all that sort of thing. The not so positive side is that they also take on all of our belief systems, behavioral patterns, all of the programming from the adults around them. So this is how we learn to function in this reality. And I guess if we go back to, caveman kind of times, these patterns were probably very relevant to our survival. So learning to fit in with the tribe, learning the very basics of what we needed to survive in terms of food, shelter, finding water, all of that sort of thing. Like, that ability to absorb all that information really quickly and really easily probably aided our survival. Now, because society is so very, very different, some of those survival skills are not as necessary as they used to be, and sometimes they can actually hold us back. And we're going to talk more about that next week when we actually start doing a session on stress next week. So stay tuned for that, because we're going to go more into that fight and flight sort of response and that sort of thing. So children are in this theta state, so they're very, very receptive to what's going on around them. This is also the kind of state that we access just before we go to sleep and when we first wake up. That is what you would call a kind of theta state, a good time for suggestive information. I suppose if you were to do affirmations or something like that, it's a good time to really connect with that energy. Okay, so that's number 1, hypnosis. Number 2 is repetition. So through repetition and the creation of habits, this is a primary way that we can acquire subconscious patterns after the age of 7. So we've all heard about this sort of thing with affirmations, right? The only problem with affirmations, in my opinion, is it's become very marketed, let's say, for want of a better word. So I think the true essence of the ask and you shall receive has kind of been a little distorted. So people get very caught up on, I want this amazing house and I want a fast car and I want all this fancy stuff and $1 million and all of this, and then they do all the affirmations and then they get very disappointed because that didn't show up. But I think if you do that and you're able to be really congruent with who you are, to connect more with what your purpose is and what you came here to do. You don't have to necessarily know all the details of that, but you have to be congruent with who you are. If you can tap into that and be in a more expansive state, then a type of affirmation can work. And it's the repetition that really enables that. There is different schools of thought on how often you need to repeat something for it to stick. And there are some studies that will say 21 days. And there are some that say anywhere up to, I think it was 254 days. So there's quite a vast difference between how long people actually think it takes to really change a habit pattern. The other thing that's important to note here too is that the subconscious really controls 95% of what's going on in your life. The conscious mind controls 5%, which is nothing. And this is why using willpower to try and change something has a 95% chance of failure, because the subconscious basically runs the show. So learning to change your beliefs from the subconscious mind is one of the best ways to actually go about doing that. And I'm going to talk more about that in just a moment. I want to mention one more thing with the repetition. I had a friend who had a serious car accident, was in a coma for quite a long time. When he came out, there was some brain damage, and he had to relearn everything from walking, talking, everything, how to boil a kettle, all of this type of thing. And it was really interesting because he learned through repetition, obviously, as we're just talking about, but he learned in a particular structure. So when it came to do these things as an adult, and he was in his 30s, I think, when it came to do things as an adult, he had to do them in a particular structure, or otherwise it would kind of fry his brain. So he'd learn to, say, have a shower and then brush his teeth and then wash his hair and then use soap in that particular order. Then he had to do it like that every time. Otherwise, things would go haywire and he would forget what he was doing. And he had just learned everything in a particular pattern. How to boil the kettle, how to make his lunch. All of these were now learned responses that were gained through repetition. The interesting part about that is because he lost everything that he'd absorbed and learned as a child, he didn't have that free flow of a range of ways that he could do things. If it wasn't done in a particular order, it was very stressful for him. So these are just two things that I noticed as differences between when you absorb something as a child and that just becomes innate as you're part of your daily life, and when you have to relearn something again as an adult, just the different ways that the brain had to assimilate that. And perhaps that was also because there was some damage to the brain that happened, but I just found it really interesting, and it related to that repetition. So there we go. That's number 2, repetition, basically practicing something over and over and over again. The third thing we can do to change programs, Bruce Lipton calls high impact events. And this is when you have, someone has a sort of spontaneous remission, someone's told they have cancer, and then they just, right, that's it, I'm changing my life. And somehow they manage to completely turn things around, and then they'll go for tests and everything's shown as clear and the doctors can't figure it all out. That type of thing that comes, I believe, from a really innate desire to completely change whatever it is that person's been going through, to completely change all of the operating system, all of the programming that they've been functioning from, and to do it in such a significant way that it literally changes their life. And, you know, that's not something that's going to happen for everyone, but it definitely is something that does happen. Hi, Tina. Thanks for showing up, hon. I hope you enjoy the show. Lovely to have you here. And ladies, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to pop them in the comments. Be happy to answer any questions that you have, or any comments or insights that you have about belief systems or anything else. Now, number 4, this is on Bruce's list of ways to change belief systems, and he calls this energy psychology, or the super learning. So this is where we have modalities like EFT, emotional freedom technique, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, theta healing, instant emotional healing, the healing codes, all of these types of healing modalities that are involved with changing our thought processes. And I want to talk a little bit about theta healing with this, because I am a theta healing practitioner. It's a modality that I've been doing for about 7 years, I think. And it's a modality that really, really changed my life. I don't want to get too much into the specifics of it today, but I want to say this. Hi, Helen. Lovely to see you here, darling. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comments, or any comments. Thank you for being here. Yeah, theta healing. So theta healing, obviously, as the name suggests, we work with the theta brainwave state. And what this allows us to do is access that 95% of the brain that is the subconscious. And it allows us to access core belief systems, or well, all belief systems, but to change the core belief systems that hold them in place and actually release them and let them go, so that that pattern no longer affects the person. It's a brilliant technique. It has a lot of other elements to it as well. But what's relevant to today's discussion is the fact that we go into the theta brainwave state to do it. And this is the exact brainwave state that I was talking about earlier, that we have up until 7 years of age, which is what when we absorb all that programming in the first place. You can't, I won't say you can't, I'll say you can't as easily change the conscious mind, because the conscious mind only has 5% of control over what's going on. The subconscious mind runs the show. And this is why when you make a New Year's resolution that I'm going to change this habit pattern, that it lasts for like 3 days and then you go back to the old pattern, that's because the conscious mind just lost the battle with the subconscious mind. And there's an underlying pattern or program that is causing a completely different behavior to take place. So it's like there's a kind of a civil war going on in the mind. And the subconscious is pretty much going to win, well, 95% of the time. So when you can use the subconscious to change the belief system, so in other words, access the theta brainwave state, that's a really cool way to actually, and a very effective way to actually change that patterning and programming. So the most important thing is to recognize that belief systems impact our health and well-being, and we have the ability to change those belief systems. And if you're interested in Bruce's, more what he has to say, there's a couple of YouTube videos that he has that are really, really interesting. It's really interesting to listen to a stem cell biologist talk about his story of how he came to go from believing that genes were what it was all about to actually recognizing that there was something very, very different going on with the body. And this these discoveries are just building more and more and more awareness about what's actually possible with the human body. And this is so important when it comes to healing, because the more we can change these patterns, the more we can actually start to change our lives and have that amazing healing process. So next week, we will be talking about stress, and I have some amazing little techniques for stress relief that are really very effective, and also how stress relates to finances is going to be one of the things we talk about as well, because when people get worried about money, they go into fight and flight mode, and this is another response from the brain that goes way back to when we were, you know, possibly in mortal danger of being, you know, attacked by an animal, or, you know, having our life threatened in some way. And there are some very simple ways to actually change that. So that's going to be next week. And then the week after that, I'm having a special guest on, a lady who's going to come and talk to us about EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique. She's an amazing lady, and she's going to have lots of tips and info for you as well. And all of this relates to what we're talking about today, which is about how the belief systems affect our reality and how we can start changing them. So theta healing is a great way. EFT is a really, really great technique that, you know, you can just use in your everyday life. You don't need any special skills to do that. So are there any questions at all? If anyone would like to make a comment or have a specific question, just pop it in the comments. I'm just going to put a little message up here. Let me see what I've got here. Okay, so if any of you would like my free ebook all about energy healing, oh, that's the wrong one. Hang on. There we go. You can go to my website, and down the bottom of the page, you can click on a link to get a free ebook. It's called A Practical Guide to Energy Clearing. And once you've done that, if you would like to get a free, watch a free teleclass related to the ebook, you have to be in my group Healing with Keryn Lee. And there's a free telecall that you can access in there. I haven't posted it anywhere. You actually have to be in that group. So that's Healing with Keryn Lee. So if you're interested in any of them, pop on down and check it all out. And we own, oh my goodness, has that time disappeared already? I've been yakking on like a crazy person. So what we're going to do is just for 2 minutes, let's do a quick little energy breathing. No, let's do an energy expanding exercise, because the more you can expand and create more space, the more expanded your energy is, the more your energy will flow, the less constricted, etc., that your body will be. So I'm just going to invite you to take a lovely deep breath. And just close your eyes and let yourself relax. And just imagine going from the edge of your body, from your skin, and allow your awareness to expand out to 1 meter beyond your body, in all directions, up and down, to the sides, expanding out, and then expand out even further, and just noticing if you, the infinite being, are in that space. And as you become aware of it, that you are more than just your physical body, you can really start to sense that you are in that space around your body, and expand out even more, expand bigger than the room that you're in. And make sure that you're expanding behind you as well. That's one area that kind of gets a bit blocked and a bit stuck. So really expand out behind you. And expand even more, expand bigger than the whole suburb that you're in. Expand even more. And just lower all of your barriers. What that means is just to let go of all of the baggage, all of the baggage and all the stuff you carry with you, all the worries and cares of the day, just kind of let that all drop down into the earth. Just let it all go. And keep expanding out even more, bigger than the whole country, expanding more, expanding even more, expanding bigger than the planet. Keep expanding out, expanding out. And lowering all the barriers and just opening up down the whole spine area. There's a lot of tension and constriction for some of you in that spine area. And also just acknowledging that we're really tapping in today, not just to the people that are on the call but also to people that are going to be on the call later. So keep expanding out, and lowering all your barriers and opening up all down the spine area. And just take a nice deep breath into your belly, all the way down to your toes, expanding. And this is just a lovely little exercise that you can do at any time that you want to create more space, more ease, to feel more relaxed. Just expand out. And just take another nice deep breath. Thank you so much for being here tonight, ladies. It's just amazing that you've shown up and been part of this and contributed your energy to all of this. I'm really grateful that you came. Next week, I said that we're going to be talking about stress, but I forgot to mention that I'm going to do a healing for someone on the show. So if someone would like to be part of that, all you have to do is come in to the comments like you did tonight, and there will be a link there that I will get you to click on, and I will bring you onto the screen. And if someone would like to do that, I will pick someone to come on and do some healing with. So if anyone has any stress that they would like to clear on the show, then we will definitely be doing that. And that will also contribute to everyone who's listening now and in the future. So thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder that if you want to pop over to my website, pick up a free ebook if you don't have it already. And just a reminder that I will be here again next week, same time, 7:30 Thursday night. And if you feel like popping along to say hi, I would love to see you there. So thank you very much for being here. See you next time. Bye.